Allegiance, I've asked Tom Berezny to lead us in the pledge. Where's the flag? Oh, there is one over there. Okay. Oh, okay. Everybody's going like, where is it? Okay. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, visible, nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all. Roll call for us, please.
Yes. John Winchester. Albert Leskus. Here. Melissa Brown Dominguez. Charlene Robinson.
Here.
Lucretia Free.
Present.
Tom Berezny. Frank Santa Cruz. Chair Verberg.
Present.
John Bernal. Tom McGovern. Here. Have 6.
Okay, we need one more for a quorum, so we can't vote on the any action items, including the next one, which will be the minutes, but we can take that up at the next meeting. Catherine, Director Skinner is going to give us an update on staff.
Good afternoon, committee. I'm Catherine Skinner, the Director of Transportation. At our last meeting, I believe I shared with you, although it was a little bit before he had actually started the position, so we have the floating, our new deputy director. So we have the floating star of vacancies in our leadership team. But I'm excited to announce that come January, we will be filling that vacancy. That's our planning and engineering division manager. We have a candidate that is moving across the country from Maryland to join our team with some extensive experience in safety, highway safety improvement program funding, which is the federal funding that we can use to address safety issues, as well as development review and other topics that are important. We've also filled a lot of key vacancies that are not shown on this, but it's been hard, as I'm sure all of you have heard, filling vacancies these past 2 years. There seems to be a real shortage of technical folks out there looking for positions. So we're really excited that we filled a 6 years. Bob Green came to us. He had been another Indiana that we brought to the sunny Southwest. So that was a really key vacancy. As some of you may know, Michelle Montanino, who's been key to our pavement program, had actually been our signal engineer for quite some time. So it had been a vacancy since she'd moved into this new position. We also filled another important position under Matt Sierras with our assistant division manager, Corrine Gary, who had been the head of our studies program for many years, has stepped over and is taking a leadership role in Matt's team, so organizing that new effort. So we're really excited by that. But I will share, we still have over 20% vacancies when it comes to equipment operators. If anybody knows anybody looking for a job, using heavy equipment, helping maintain our roads, we definitely need it. When we're responsible for clearing that and clearing the snow in the village of Summerhaven, and that's a lot of on-call and overtime for this staff when we have such shortages. So, and encourage anybody you know to apply with the county. And that's the update. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Skinner, thank you for that update. We appreciate it. And it sounds like some real positive movement in terms of filling positions, so that's great. Okay, let's go to road repair update. Jason Boley, please.
Good morning or good afternoon. I'm not sure actually what time it is right now, but either way, thank you for allowing us to give this presentation. This presentation is for our pavement program update. And so starting off with the fiscal 23 program, I'd like to just start with a few photos to share with y'all. These photos here are of some of the ADA curb ramp jobs that have been going on. All three of these photos are actually from the same job. These are all from the Heritage Hills ADA curb ramp job, and we kind of have the whole process here for you. So on the top left, we have the beginning stages and the demolition. And then on the bottom, we have some of the pouring of the concrete that's going on. And then on the top right, we have the finished product that's getting smoothed out. So just kind of a good little look through the whole process. Photos for you as well. So these are from two different projects. So the two images on the top are from our Northwest Mill and Pave job. The photo on the top left is from Trico Road, and the photo on the top right is from Silverbell Road. And then the photo on the bottom left there, that is from our Green Valley Mill and Pave job, and that is on Camino del Portillo. Moving into some really exciting news. So we have we added one today. 5 jobs now that are substantially complete for this fiscal year already. Those include the Green Valley ADA, Camino Verde ADA, Encanto Canyon ADA, Pitcher Rocks Mill and Pave West, and job is also substantially complete. So we do have the curb ramp projects that are still going on. We have 3 more of those that are still ongoing. Linda Meadowbrook Wood Moon Dance job and the before mentioned Heritage Hills job. All 3 of those jobs are continuing right along and scheduled to be done by the end of January or very early in February. We have quite a few paving jobs going on as well. So we'll go through those real fast. There on the left side, the Green Valley job that we mentioned with that photo earlier is still ongoing. All paving is complete on that job as of the 7th of this month, and they're striping, raising utilities, and final striping will be upcoming as well. Central Southwest job is substantially complete now with just final striping left, which is very exciting. The Northwest job is so rapidly we're towards substantial completion. We're expecting that to be done this month. And we also coordinated with Pinal County on that job to do their portion of Trico Road in conjunction with them. So that our contractor was able to help out both counties at the same time, which was really encouraging. On the right side, some jobs just getting kicked off. Our Catalina Foothills North job is currently having utilities lowered, and paving should be beginning here later this month. Town of Catalina Jock is currently paving right now and should be completed entirely by the end of the month. The Tucson Mountains Jock is also paving currently. Utility adjustments are going to be starting here very soon as well. It will be rapidly moving toward completion this month. The Tanca Verde and Catalina Foothills East jobs are both just getting underway with utility lowering work. And paving should be beginning on Catalina Foothills East here very soon, potentially in the next week or so. So talking about a few other jobs for you. So a couple of these jobs are still out in the awarded and not started. So the first one to talk about is the Southeast Mill and Pave job, Southeast Pima County. This job is still slated to start sometime in the middle of February with a completion date of the end of March. Catalina Foothills West, so this job is was awarded to ISX Construction. It will be getting going here in January, and this job is a completion date of May 31st. And one more to talk about. So this is the Casas Adobe South job. So this is just recently been advertised actually as of this last week. So that's exciting news, and the bid opening for that is on the 11th of January. The engineer's estimate for that job is $4.5 to $5.5 million in Board of Supervisors District 1 and 3. There are 10.76 miles of local roads on that job and 3.98 miles of arterial collectors, and the completion date on that is June 30th. That area is generally south of Ina, to the north of Roger, to the west of La Cañada, and give you a perspective on where this job is at. So overall, looking at the status by the numbers, as you can see there, we have quite a few jobs hanging out in the awarded category and advertised as well. Along with that is very ever-growing complete column, which is very exciting. And then just kind of a program as we're getting prepared to start thinking about the next fiscal year. And so here we're kind of looking at in terms of where we're going to be at for this fiscal year. So as you all are aware, hopefully we are currently having the PCI values of the county collected with our van, and we're hoping to have all that data collection and preparation complete by the end of January. In January to February timeframe, all that data will get uploaded into StreetSaver, and they'll begin those with that new PCI data to inform the road list for next year and years subsequent to that. It's probably in that February to March timeframe where we'll have more discussions here in this group about the future of the program and what we're looking at. So just to give you kind of some ideas on that as well, and so you can be prepared for that. April to May is when we're expecting to start having that bid package list and starting to submitting some of those road lists for people to review. And then we're hoping to start sending our packages for next fiscal year down to procurement by the end of May, so we can get those out and started on July 1. So that's kind of a quick run through of what we're looking at for fiscal 24. As always, just remind everyone that you can view all of the projects, all the roadways selected on our webpage. The web link is there below, and the map gets updated regularly. And with that, I will open for any questions.
Thanks, Jason. I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
On slide 7, Tanque Verde, going through survey and utility adjustments now. Why the lag for 2 months before the milling and paving actually starts?
So the contractor that has the Tanque Verde job also has the Catalina Foothills to basically, and it's right after each other. So they're doing those two jobs almost as one job.
Okay.
So the paving, and utility will happen right after each other that way.
Okay, and on the 24 roads list schedule,
Yes.
and so we're in the process of doing the surveys right now for the new PCI ratings?
Correct.
Okay, so I remember a few years ago, it kind of got held up because of snow on Mount Lemon, and it took a little bit of extra time. Is that going to be a holdup this time?
We don't anticipate that being a holdup, no.
Okay,
The contractor is over 80% complete with running the roads with the van.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah. And I believe they started in the northeast area. That was one of the first areas they did, so that would have been Mount Lemon.
okay, thanks. And one more, Mr. Chair. Have all the packages been assembled and prepped for bid yet, or are we still in the package building process?
We have a couple more that we're still in the process of getting the packages prepped for.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
But a vast majority is out on the street and awarded and in construction, for that matter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jason?
Yeah.
You are by a kind of overall piece available to you at that point, since you'll have done all of them and can combine everything. Do you have a projection? It would be, I think, really helpful to know now what you project these results to give you, and then compare them to what you have, so that in the future, assembling the highest priority projects to get the most bang for our buck, and to see that our projection formulas are accurate.
In terms of, so you're talking in terms of the fiscal '24 program?
Yeah,
Or-
I'm talking about when the 23 is not exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, okay.
If I can offer, I mean, what we anticipate with the new PCIs, I don't know if this is on, no it is that it will be a little bit different. We'll be calibrating to see what the comparison is. It's a similar activity to we went PCI scan. So that's going to be a time when we reevaluate what our decision tree is. Are the breakpoints still appropriate? And those exercises. We're also going to be looking at, as you know, the last 4 years of the program for the local roads, we've been focusing on repairing the worst first and those associated subdivisions. So those roads that we did 4 years ago, we can preserve that investment. So that's going to, we look at discuss in terms of how we look at the distribution of funding between locals and the arterials collectors, and then further how we look at repair versus preservation within those groups. So there's research in a lot of conversations. We're starting to do research internally, but until we get the results of the VAN, I don't think that the discussions are as useful as when we have.
Kind of looking to see 6 months after the fact, let's say whatever we finished in June of '22, June of this year, we're going to see what we expected that to return us to here in January and February, right? That's when we will find out how well that previous year's program performed, as far as returning us a PCI that was up to I forget what we were going for, 71 or something like that.
Sure. So Jason can probably describe exactly how we do those updates, but we're actually updating in Street Saver as soon as we accept the construction on a project. So it's continuously being updated in terms of what Street Saver looks at. So you do a mill and fill, it will reset for those segments to a higher PCI. So as soon as we accept a project, we're doing that.
Okay.
But this will be a good comparison between what is measured system and what is the system itself.
Yeah, it'd be great once that happens if you could give us a little summary of that, a report on, how well that's going as far as the projecting. Obviously, it's important that we do decent projection. Process we've adopted is staying on track.
I think that's something we can look into for sure.
Okay, any other questions? I do have a comment. I'm sure places, and I certainly noticed the Tucson Mountains project and the progress that we see out there, and want to compliment staff for moving forward as aggressively as you have been with these projects, and the progress in terms of ones that are in construction and ones that are upcoming. So thank you for all your efforts, and it's looking good. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Let's go to the RTA next update. Director Skinner, would you like to go first?
Hello, and Tom McGovern is here, so of course as the chair of the CAC, he has his own update and has been busy from an outside viewer of the RTA next development. Transportation Advisory Committee, the RTA board has met twice, and we knew that there were some important decision points for them to make. So at their October meeting, they went ahead and approved deferring 2 additional projects outside of the current RTA to RTA Next, assuming RTA Next moves forth. So those 2 new projects were City of Tucson projects. It was RTA number 19, which is 22nd Street to Stage 3 from I-10 to Keno Boulevard Road. And then that would be A32, which is Houghton Road. That would be Stage 8 of it, which is Broadway Boulevard north to Tanca Verde Road. So a portion of that project is actually in the unincorporated county. The other two projects that had already been deferred, just to remind you, are RTA number 5, which is Silver Bell Road, Phase 3, which is El Camino del Cerro to Ina Road. So that's shared mostly between the county and the town of Marana. And then RTA number 13, which is First Avenue Project Grove to Ina Road, which is a county. In addition to that, the board took action approving $1 billion forecast for the RTA Next program. That assumes a 0.5-cent sales tax, which would be a continuation of the existing sales tax. And they also looked at a starting point. So if you recall, the RTA program has both the named roadway projects within the roadway, all categoricals. They include plan elements and sub-element, an environmental and economic vitality element, and a transit element. So they approved those as a starting point, not as the final breakdown, but we don't know the cost breakdown, but as a starting point, that was something that they're looking for at. At the December 8th meeting, which was just last week of the RTA board, they got an update on the RTA Next plan based on what the CAC has been undertaking, which is a big effort to take the list of projects that were prioritized through the Technical Management Committee's working group, and they whittled down the list significantly, but it still needed to be reduced to the 1.1 billion target. And so the CAC went through an exercise of prioritizing and came up with a list of, and this is just a very initial list, I should say, lots of work still to be done, but there were 32 projects on the reduced list, and that included only 2 projects in the unincorporated county, those being the Irvington Road, Ajo Highway to Mission Road, new roadway for a portion of it on the west end, and then intersection improvements for the rest of that corridor. And then the Sonoran corridor, which is I-19 to I-10, some early right-of-way acquisition activities. As well as in that list, there were 3 projects in Ada, 2 projects in Marana, 2 in Oro Valley, 2 in Sahuarita, one in Rocky, 2 in Sahuarita, 1 in South Tucson, and the remaining 19 projects are in the city of Tucson. So there's a lot of continued work to be done. Some of that is updating cost estimates for these projects. Many of the cost estimates are 2+ years old at this time, and there's been, as we've talked about many times, significant inflation and cost escalation in the last 2 years. So that's something that's being looked at, as well as through some of these meetings, the endpoints, the termini of some of these projects have changed. So we need to revisit the cost of those projects if the scope has changed. So with that, I will turn it over to Tom, who maybe has some more comments about the hard work that the Citizens Advisory Committee has been undertaking.
At least one question.
Yes.
Move on. By deferred, you had the 2 deferred projects. Does that mean that they're included in the new project list?
That's my understanding, yes, is that they would be a starting point in those roadway elements so that there could be additional funding brought to bear to deliver these projects. The city of Tucson has been fairly clear as their mayor and council speak to projects going to that. They don't want it to take away from other projects that could be added. So it shouldn't take away if they, you consider an allocation to each jurisdiction. However, there's not really an allocation per jurisdiction. It's a regional plan, so I'm not sure how it'll play out. But yes, they'd be included in the roadway element of the RTA Next.
Any other questions for Director Skinner before we go to Tom? Okay, Tom McGovern, you're on.
Yeah, that was a good segue into some comments I wanted to make about the initial list. The CAC has spent quite a bit of time, and staff also of the RTA and PAG have spent a lot of time developing tools for the committee to use in ranking and prioritizing the projects. And as a result of that kind of black box, if you will, a list has come out of 32 or so projects Obviously, that's all that's been done to develop that list, and the conversations among CAC members and the public, of course, are yet to come. But at least when we take just a 30,000-foot level look at the initial list, we can see some gaps and some unbalancing that is obviously there. Catherine mentioned that there are only 2 county projects among those, initial list of 30 or so projects, and there are probably, I've forgotten the number now, but 12 or 13 projects maybe within the city. So there's probably going to have to be some rebalancing of that so that the unincorporated area is somewhat balanced, both population-wise and geographically. We noticed that there weren't any projects that had risen into the very top of the CAC's ratings in the Vail area. And boy, did we hear from the Southeast Regional Council about that, and rightly so. I think a place where we don't have a lot of coverage is Green Valley. Green Valley's projects may turn out not to be major named projects. They may get most of their benefit in the categoricals. That remains to be seen. But in any case, that balancing act is kind of the next level of work that the CAC has to undertake. And certainly the costs are going to be a big deal. We're trying to get down to $1.1 billion worth of projects from an initial list of approximately 4 times that. And currently, we can probably get there using just the tools that I've talked about, but we'll be adding a couple of projects here and there. In fact, I think a couple of projects have already been brought in from just beyond kind of the $1.1 billion cutoff range of the ranked list from the CAC in order to have projects from both Oro Valley and Sahuarita. So now from 1.1 billion, maybe we're at 1.4 billion or something like that, and obviously have to come down. And if you add 30% to all of these as probably a low number for inflation, then, obviously there's a lot of work yet to be done to get there. And then on top of that, we have these deferred projects that you were just talking about that are going to be added in as named projects that the voters will have a chance to vote on. So overall, we've made some good progress, I think, getting to where we are, but it's still some severe heavy lifting, and we really need to try to get this all in the hands of the Technical Management Committee and or so. So no rest for the weary. Questions?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Tom.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Tom. Tom, you mentioned some of the Green Valley projects may be included in the categorical, or there's a possibility, because there wasn't anything from Green Valley itself in the 110 or whatever it was, that list that came out before. So you're saying some of the things that the Green Valley folks had briefed the CAC on about a year ago may be included in the categorical, so there's still a chance that they may rise up or
Yeah, I think, in general, and Catherine needs to speak to this directly, but in general, the jurisdictions looked at regional corridor projects. And
Okay.
so a project that may be an arterial within a local area but doesn't have regional significance may not have made their lists of top projects for this
Right.
named project category. Whereas those other projects may fit in one or more of the categorical elements. There are some transit, there's a transit bucket, if you will, of funding that's expected. There's a safety or intersection safety type bucket that's a possibility. So there are a number of different areas where these other kinds of local or more local projects perhaps may show up.
So in the safety, you would include something like expanding bike lanes or something like that in there, or,
Yeah.
we talked about White House Canyon Road, and you're gonna, we're dividing that out for the new PCI ratings, but there's a lot of drainage issues right there by the Union Pacific Railroad, so that kind of thing would get lumped into the categorical also for safety, or?
Generally, the way we look at it is they were a roadway element project if you had kind of continuous improvements over a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles of a corridor. If we're looking at a certain type of spot improvement, whether it be drainage, whether it's bicycle, pedestrian, transit, safety, those are better suited to categorical projects typically. We did put in with our proposal that there should be, we're hoping for a category for all weather improvements, because that is not an element that existed in the current RTA program. And that's a lot of the challenges we have on our roadways right now, is they're not all weather. We don't necessarily need more lanes for vehicles. We don't always necessarily even need a paved shoulder, but we need a culvert so that that road doesn't close during storms, or we need to upgrade that. So that's one of the categories we're hoping to see in the future, and yeah, White House Canyon would fall into that.
Okay.
Yeah, just a reminder that those categorical funding elements typically will not have actual projects attached to them yet. These will be things that over the next 20 years will rise to importance within individual jurisdictions. They'll be brought forward kind of in the same transportation planning methodology that's currently used within PAG, and funding will be allocated in that manner typically. Now the transit may be different. Much of that will probably be laid out ahead of time and promised to the voters, such things as extended weekend coverage and new routes, and there may be a bus rapid transit project or two that also gets
Yeah, I
named.
know Green Valley wanted Suntran to have a bigger presence in the Green Valley, Sarita area, so, okay.
Yeah, and just a reminder, without this, current transit in the community will be crippled, really.
Yeah.
Because so much of our current coverage, transit service is RTA funded.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions?